Hello and welcome to the Select Character podcast. Select Character? Select Characters. Well, there's actually just two today, not as much as last week or the week before that, but you'll have to do with just me, Chris Anderson, and Enrique Cancel. Hiya.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. I just got back from a 2-day trip to Amsterdam, which is, one of the largest cities in my country. And actually, it was sort of video game themed because we stayed at the Arcade Hotel, which had a bunch of vintage consoles available for rent. You could rent a ton of games for other systems as well. So if you want to go to Amsterdam and play video games all weekend, that is definitely where you want to go.
Is there like a big thing over there, like video game culture, or is it more like just like a novelty hotel?
It didn't feel like a novelty hotel, but I've never encountered something like that before. So I guess for me it was a novelty either way.
Okay.
But it wasn't like the video game stuff overshadowed everything there. It's just, we have games. We're called the Arcade Hotel. You can play video games here. We've got an Xbox One. The lounge, go fucking nuts. That was basically it. Oh, and we had like an amber light thing on in our room, which was kind of nice.
I mean, as far as vacation goes, it seems like a nice little, nice little treat.
Mm-hmm. That city is hectic, though. Let me tell you. It's probably nothing by American standards because there's only 550,000 people living in Amsterdam, and that makes it the largest city in my entire country, right? But I live in a quote-unquote city that has around 75,000 people, and I live close to Rotterdam, which has around 500,000 people. So, if you go to Amsterdam when you're used to 70,000 people around you at any given time, right, it's ridiculous because it's not a very big city centre, and that's where all the tourists go, and it's got very small streets and stuff. So you're basically in a 24/7 traffic jam, but on foot.
Oh, God, that's awful.
Yes, it is. And there's a lot of bikes there. I mean, Holland's kind of known for people riding bikes. There's all the fucking bikes are there, man, all of them, and it's a slaughtering ground. So that's what it is.
I mean, it's kind of cool. It reminds me of when I used to live in Hong Kong, like the density of people per square inch was just insane. And I mean, every time like around noon, like lunchtime in the middle of the day, like you'd walk out, you just see literally like oceans of people just kind of pouring into the streets. And it's like, shoulder to shoulder traffic kind of thing.
Yeah, fucking terrible. I can do that for a couple of hours, right? That's fine by me. But imagine if you lived in a place like that, right?
Yeah,
you actually did.
Speaking of tourism, a while ago I heard that there was like not necessarily animosity, but I guess Amsterdam was having some trouble with like American tourism there, and I know a couple Americans got banned from buying weed at the coffee shops and all that stuff over there. Like, was that actually true, or is that anything that's still happening?
That may very well be. Our cannabis policy is a bit fucking weird. It's not legal really, but it's condoned, which means that the police won't really arrest you if they find it on you. They won't arrest you if you bought it in a shop. You're allowed to sell it in a shop if you've got a license, but it is illegal to supply the stores, which is ridiculous. So the condoning comes in the police not really doing anything against the suppliers except for 1 or 2 times a year. Well, they'll just capture a few of them
just to like keep up appearances.
Yeah, exactly. And every now and then they do ban a few tourists in Amsterdam or a different city in Holland for doing just that, but it's bullshit, essentially. It hardly ever happens. Some people are just made into an example, so...
Yeah, that's shitty.
It's the way the world is, I guess. I mean, you're fucked up as a nation, right? If the US has a better marijuana policy than fucking Holland... We should be on this shit. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, it's straight up decriminalized in a few places in the US, and it's not in Holland. It's just condoned.
Yeah, it's weird though because it's like a double-edged sword here because it's decriminalized at a state level. Mm-hmm. So like somewhere in Colorado, you can buy it. I think you can now buy it recreationally, but you can at the very least go to a dispensary and buy it for medical reasons. But it's still not decriminalized at the federal level. Yeah. So. Like, if you work at a government job in Colorado, I mean, like, they can, for all intents and purposes, randomly drug test you, get you fired, and even, like, take legal action against you.
Yeah, that's a bit bullshit, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. A lot of red tape.
A bit too far. Anyway, before we start talking about weed too often, like, you can't really mention Amsterdam without talking about weed, apparently. Well, just...
I mean, they go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah, it's that prostitution and wooden shoes everywhere, isn't it? And I'm not even kidding. There's wooden shoes fucking everywhere. None of them are worn by white people.
Was it clogs?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I said white people, by the way. I meant Amsterdam residents. No Dutch people wears them. It's just the tourists that buy them. And oh my God, you'll never find as much clogs in our entire history as a country as now in Amsterdam. It's ridiculous.
Oh my God. It's like, I'm just picturing like a caricature of like Netherlands up there now. Everyone walking around with like clogs and the little like, was it bonnet on their heads?
Yeah, with the two rear side mirrors on the side.
Yep.
Yeah, that still happens in some parts of the country. Anyway, Holland, tourism stuff. Let's not do that. Let's talk about video games. So
probably a good idea.
Yes. Why don't you just tell me what you've been playing over the past week?
I actually went back to WoW because Blizzard just released like the updated Karazhan, however it is pronounced, because I'm not 100% sure. But it is awesome, and it completely made me fall in love with WoW again.
Right, it's not a new raid. It's a 5-man like dungeon.
It's like a 5-man super dungeon. So, a little background. So this time around, Blizzard's been doing something different with the dungeons, where now you have like 3 levels. You have the normal mode, heroic. Now you have like a mythic mode.
Yeah, mythic plus comes after that as well, right? For raids.
Yeah. And that's cool. So, like, Mythic is like, I guess, what Heroics used to be. So they're a little bit more challenging, a little bit more mechanics, but it's nothing, like, crippling. But then they added, like, a similar system to what they have in Diablo, where it's called Mythic Plus, where when you complete your first Mythic of the week, you actually get a keystone. And the keystone gives you, like, it's like a Mythic plus 2 to a random dungeon. So when you enter that dungeon at Mythic level, there's, like, a little, like, key pedestal. And you can put in your keystone, and it'll actually upgrade everything in that dungeon to like level 2. And then if you beat that one within a timer, you can actually get a different keystone for like another random dungeon at level 3, and it keeps going up. It just keeps going up higher and higher. And when you do that, like it'll start putting in like random affixes to the dungeons, like Sanguine, which I think enemies heal when other enemies die near them. There's like teaming where you get like extra mobs. So it's kind of like the Diablo system where like the dungeons have modifiers now.
Right, yeah.
And you also have a timer set where, like, if you can beat that dungeon within a set amount of time within the timer, you actually get extra bonus rewards. And all the gear actually, like, levels up anywhere between 5 to 10, like, item levels. So it's really cool. But it's neat because it gives you, like, a constant kind of evolving challenge. So, you can constantly be doing, like, Mythic level 1, level 2, level 3, up to level 15, 16. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's a really cool way of extending the end game grind, right? I mean,
yeah.
You still, like, technically you're not getting new content, but it plays differently because it's harder, so you are engaged for longer amounts of time.
Yeah, and they did a really cool thing where, like, I know one thing Blizzard's been kind of having issues with is that whole concept of, like, Dungeon Finder and Looking for Raid, where the community's really split on it because on the one hand, people think, hey, this is a great tool for people that don't have the time. But other people don't like it because they say, hey, like this actually kind of ruins the whole community aspect of MMO because why are you going to interact with other players if you can just queue up for a dungeon and that's it?
It's a necessary convenience because it's something that the player bases have been asking for so long before they got it.
Right. And it's cool because I think with the Mythic dungeons, they kind of struck a really nice balance where it's like it's old school in the sense that you actually have to go like physically to the dungeon entrance. You need to like hike your way there, and then you need to summon everybody. So everybody needs to be at the entrance and go in together for it to actually enter the Mythic dungeon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you've got the casual end game, and then you've got the hardcore end game.
Yeah. But even with that, you can they do have like looking for groups, so you can at least like post a group, or post or try to apply for groups that people are forming, so you can at least get with people from other servers. Mm-hmm. And then when you pug people, then you guys can all do like the whole walk to the dungeon, summon whoever you need, and then go into it. But anyway, all this background is so among those, like they're harder difficulty dungeons. So Kara used to be like a raid back in Burning Crusade. It was really cool. It was like a 10-man raid. Had some really neat bosses. It was like the whole Medivh's tower and kind of going through and figure out what happened to him and stuff. And they actually took that old raid and they made it into like a 5-man. I guess it's like a super dungeon where it's a really long dungeon with about like I think 9 or 10 bosses. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's supposed to take you like a good chunk of time. And there's like this really cool 2-man quest chain to do where you have to do I think 4 different mythic dungeons to get a key. You get the key to get to another quest to go to Karazhan. Then you have to do like some kill X number of mobs, do this, find this item, and then eventually you can go into the mob. It's like the Karazhan dungeon itself, but it is such a fun dungeon. It's such a really good kind of balance between that challenging difficulty, but just really fun gameplay elements.
Right. Is the chess game back? Like, I have not played it myself, but
no chess.
All right, cool.
It's actually almost all new bosses. They do have some of the old throwbacks, like there's a Tudeman the Huntsman is in there, and then Morose is there as well. Mm-hmm. So you get like those old school fights, but then when you beat them, like you go to like this whole opposite side of the tower, because like the whole story is the Legion's invading, but the tower's defenses are kind of trying to fight back, and it creates this really weird, trippy area where like half the tower is upside down. It reminds me of like Castlevania. Was it Symphony of the Night? Mm-hmm. Where when you beat the game once, you play it over again, but the castle's like kind of turned upside down.
I never played it, but I'll believe you on your word.
Yeah, no, but it's a really cool dungeon. And like I said, man, it's got just the right amount of nostalgia where like you see some of the old bosses, you actually some of the like, similar mechanics. You're like, oh, I remember this. The Maiden and Virtue's still in there, and then the Opera House is still there. So like it's all these really cool, like familiar encounters, but then they kind of add a twist for new players, and they even have like a hidden boss in there with a mountain, like a hidden mountain that you can get. The whole thing is really cool.
Yeah, it's like Legion in its entirety sounds like pretty great, and from what I've played of it, it is a really, really good expansion. It feels like a in case of emergency break glass expansion, right?
Pretty much, but I mean, I think they've been doing really well so far, and
yeah,
I'm like.
Certainly.
It makes me wonder what the hell they're going to do for the next expansion, because I feel like they're almost like not jumping the shark, but they're kind of maxing out. Like this is like their magnum opus at the moment.
No. Hang on. What if Kale Fast came back again?
I mean, I heard it was a setback once, so
twice, 3 times. It will be forever.
Yeah, 3 times lady.
Like,
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Illidan came back, so maybe they can redo Wrath again with Bolvar this time.
Yes, or just delete the entirety of Northrend and just give me the Howling Fjords, because that was awesome. Like I liked Stormheim the best as well in Legion.
Yeah,
I just want more of that.
I don't know, dude. Like it's the lore for Legion's really cool too, and like even like I think the Death Knight campaign is probably my favorite one story wise, because you know how each class has their own separate campaign, like kind of you follow your own like class story.
Yeah.
The Death Knights are an awesome thing where you have Bolvar the Lich King wakes up and he basically because he senses a scourge and he strikes a deal with the Death Knights, say, you guys can keep your free will, and I'll empower you, but you need to help me defeat the Legion. In exchange, like I'll keep the scourge contained to Northrend. So you're like, all right, cool. You strike a deal with him, and then you basically go on this quest to actually recreate the 4 Horsemen.
Oh, that's awesome,
dude! It's really cool, and I think like Frosty K's they basically take the Shattered Frostborn and reforge it to 2 different swords now. So they're dual wielding 2 Frostborns essentially.
Oh, that's real cool.
Yeah, man. So it's got a really cool thing. But yeah, like I guess like through the whole DK campaign, you get kind of the feeling that Bolvar is kind of it's less Bolvar, more Lich King now, and he's been kind of subtly manipulating the Death Knights. Because he has you do some shit that like puts you at odds with the other class halls. So like it kind of makes you wonder if they're going to kind of expand on that.
Well, what do you think, that they'll split off or something like that?
I don't know, but I think it'd be cool because I've heard like Blizzard had said that they want to kind of keep expanding the class hall story. So I think it'd be really cool, at least just based on what happened so far, that if they kind of keep going in that direction. Because right now, like they basically have a couple of quests that put them at direct odds with the Paladins. Mm-hmm. And I think like they do another one where you kind of go against Lady Sylvanas at some point. So I mean, it's kind of neat. I don't want to spoil too much, but like I said, just from a gameplay perspective, I really like it. So Legion overall, man, it's one of those games. I'm surprised because usually by now with a new expansion, I kind of taper off my interest. I'll play for a bit. I'll be like, all right, I'm done. I kind of see what I needed to see, but I'm actually still logging on every day and like having fun.
Yeah, I would be too. My subscription ran out, and I wasn't really paying attention to the game because I was playing Civilization 6 like all the time. So why bother? Like I've tried playing other games, I just constantly go back to the other one. But I'm really glad that after 12 years, Warcraft still manages to interest people and still manages to surprise even the oldest of players, which is great, really good.
Yeah, how's Civ going? Because I took a break from that, so I kind of want to jump back into it. But how are you liking it after I guess like a week or two?
Okay, I still love it. I really do. But the AI is batshit insane. All right, so
still,
I just want to take a moment here, right, to talk about France. France, you are a lovely country. You really are. I like your baguettes. I like your coffee. I like your cigarettes. It's all fine. I like you so much that I'll go on a joint war with you if you ask me to. But after the war's concluded, you turn around and tell me that I am the warmonger and then you start to attack me. That's a bit... No. You can fuck off if you do that. That is essentially what happens with most civilizations in Civilization 6 right now. The AI will hate you for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes a civilization I've only just met 2 turns ago, who is on the other side of the world map, will hate me because, well, if their name is Montezuma, they'll hate you because you've got luxury resources that they don't have, and apparently that makes them really fucking angry. Even though 4 or 5 turns before this, you were applauding me for having the exact same amount of luxury resources as you. Just no, something's off with the AI, man.
I mean, that's always been the case, though, dude. It's always been like that weird thing where you can be in an allegiance for 100-something turns, and you guys are perfectly happy. You know, like you're trading resources, open borders. And they're constantly asking you for, like, treaties and stuff every other turn, and then they'll randomly denounce you. And you're like, what the hell just happened here?
Yeah, they don't randomly denounce you. It's just that they are very trigger-happy when it comes to denouncing you. Like, if you do even one thing that goes against their agendas, like pick a different form of government, for instance, or have the audacity to have developed a religion that is different from their own, they will just denounce you. Doesn't really matter what you've done for them. I even gave, like, in the current game, I gave Russia one of my cities. I was playing as the United States, just to appease them, just to have somebody on my continent that was on my side. He liked me, offered me an alliance, but as soon as that alliance concluded, he denounced me for having a different religion than his country, which was, yeah, exactly. It's stuff like that I don't really like, but stuff like this can be patched in, right? They can fix AI and balance stuff, which they've been pretty good about in the past. So I'm confident they'll do the same for 6. But right now, it's not ideal. You don't really see the other AI as, well, actual civilizations you want to play with. They're just another hurdle for you to take, and that takes the character out of who they're supposed to be, right?
Oh, really?
It's in some cases. But I'm sure they will fix it because they have done so in the past. And when they were done with 5, it was the best version that game could be.
5 was pretty good.
5 was really good, especially with the 2 expansions. I hope we don't have to wait for the first or second expansion for them to rebalance some of the stuff in the game right now. I hope so. I don't know,
man. Like, one thing that I noticed, and I've always felt that, like, 5 was good when it first came out, but it didn't really kind of hit its stride until they released expansions for it, like Gods and Kings and stuff. But
yeah, that was because those expansions added in features that were present in 4 and were conspicuously absent in 5 for some reason.
And then like when 6 launches, suddenly we have it feels like a fuller game because it launched with those things off the bat with like spying and the whole
religion
system.
As well. Trading was in there. The only thing they removed, as far as I can see, is the World Congress feature, which didn't really add anything to an offline AI game. So might as well just leave that out, right?
Yes, I mean, so it works for what it is.
Oh yeah, definitely. But to surmise that, I think Civ 6 is a fantastic Civilization game, which will appeal to fans of that game. Just give them a bit of time to rebalance some stuff because that's not in the right place. If you're overly annoyed by stuff like that happening, by the AI just being a bit janky, and maybe think twice until you get it. Maybe wait for a sale. But if you loved 5 in the state it was in at the end of its cycle, you should definitely get Civ 6 because it adds enough new stuff to keep it interesting. The art style looks very good. It's just a more fun version of 5 with some additional reworks and features thrown in for good measure.
I mean, that's all at least personally, I would ask for anyway. So
yeah, definitely. It's a great starting point. It's already a great game, but it could be way more than that. And we'll just have to wait and see if Firaxis realizes that.
Hopefully. I mean, like they seem to be having a really good track record so far with it. So, and I think, or I would like to think that they learned from their mistakes with Beyond Earth, that they won't be repeating them again. So we'll see.
I've not played Beyond Earth an awful lot, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But I think you'd be better off telling me if if that worked out well for them, because you've played both games.
I like Beyond Earth, but it was definitely it felt more like an expansion to 5 than anything.
Mm-hmm. Like it could be an entirely new game mode that they could tack onto the end game of 5.
Yeah, pretty much. It felt like just an expansion of 5 with a different skin on it. So they didn't really like change enough to it to warrant like a whole different installment on it. But it did have some really cool features, which, like I said, I mean, it feels like they took some lessons from Beyond Earth and like, okay, like they kind of see what works, what doesn't. Like they streamline some of the features and then they kind of upgrade them for 6. So then we end up with 6 that has a more robust system to begin with. And I love the fact that, the whole terrain gameplay is completely different now.
Yeah, it looks better and everything gets communicated to you a bit better as well.
Yeah.
In terms of the map and stuff. It's the simple things like the way the map colors itself in when it gets out of your field of view and stuff. It looks great. It
Dude,
just
I love
looks
that.
great.
I love like the whole like cloth map look to it is awesome. It's a great aesthetic.
Yeah, definitely. So they're on the right track, baby. Have I played something else? Have you played something else?
No, honestly, man, it's just been WoW, and then been touching on Civ once in a while, but I'll hopefully be jumping back into that more.
Mm-hmm. I can heartily recommend it. All right, because it's just the two of us this week, it's going to be a shorter episode as it usually is. But we have got a new story that we both want to talk about, and hopefully we'll be able to give you a little perspective on this from two people who work on the inside of the industry. But that's how Bethesda is going to treat game reviews now, which is one of the biggest stories of the past week. I've got the blog post here in front of me, and I'll just read it to you. It says, at Bethesda, we value media reviews. We read them, we watch them, we try to learn from them when they offer critique, and we understand their value to our players. Earlier this year, we released Doom. We sent out review copies to arrive the day before launch, which led to speculation about the quality of the game. Since then, Doom has emerged as a critical and commercial hit and is now one of the highest rated shooters of the past few years. With the upcoming launches of Skyrim Special Edition and Dishonored 2, we will continue our policy of sending media review copies one day before release. While we will continue to work with media streamers and YouTubers to support the coverage, both before and after release, we want everyone, including those in the media, to experience our games at the same time. We also understand that some of you want to read reviews before you make your decision, and if that's the case, we encourage you to wait for your favorite reviewers to share their thoughts. That was basically it. Mm-hmm. I want to open with saying, well, one thing, that's fuck Bethesda, and we've got a second one as well. Who's fooled by this? Who's fooled by their argumentation? Like, we want you to experience the game at the exact same time as everybody else.
I mean, can you blame them though?
Yes, this is very flimsy and thinly veiled, and it's anti-consumer. You are removing essentially an avenue potential buyers can pursue. They don't get. They can't have a place to see if the game actually works on day one.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, like they've done studies and they've shown that like those reviews really have little impact in moving sales.
Yeah, but that's not really the point here, is it? It's about giving people another option to orientate themselves before they purchase something.
They have that option, but it's not Bethesda's fault that people are impatient and they can't wait a day or two for a review. I mean, like the whole concept. I don't know. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom saying Bethesda's doing this strictly anti-consumer and they're trying to hide something, but I think Bethesda made a really good point with their argument on Doom. And I saw like the video Total Biscuit put up, and he had some good points, but he is arguing, like a lot of the like game reviewers are arguing, that their whole that he thinks that Bethesda's trying to use Doom as like the exception that proves the rule, saying that Doom was a great game despite like the doom and gloom and reviews. Mm-hmm. So clearly, you should trust us from here on out. But I don't think that's what Bethesda's doing. I think that when Bethesda, remember how like they only sent the review copy out, like I think a day beforehand. Mm-hmm. People were like ready to like crucify Bethesda, saying like, "Oh, this is the anti-consumer. This game's gonna be shit. They're trying to hide something."
Not just the players. A lot of YouTube influencers, I guess they're called now. They said the same. A lot of online outlets said the exact same.
Yeah,
thing.
And it goes to show just how spoiled game media has gotten. And like I said, dude, like there was this just whole doom and gloom, and then the game comes out, they're like, oh, never mind, it's kind of good. And I think Bethesda saw that, and from their point of view, it wasn't so much that say, oh, we can get away from this from now on. But I think they just kind of saw that as the games media burning a bridge, because they realized, okay, wow, man, if we don't, clearly these guys are entitled, and if we don't give them the review copy like so much so in advance, like they're ready to throw out their forks and turn on a dime.
I tend to agree with the people getting angry over this, actually. Even though Doom turned out fine, that in no way has any bearing on how future games of theirs will be perceived by players. Like, that it turned out to be good, that's fucking great. People are enjoying Doom, that's awesome. But it doesn't mean that the same will be true for other games that they release.
No, man, and I agree. Like, I agree. Like, just because Doom was great despite having a day before review release, doesn't mean that every other game's going to be great like that. But I'm saying that the vitriol and the adverse reaction that games media had to that one incident, for me, kind of shows that, games media has gotten really spoiled, and just they almost feel entitled to getting the review copies, when like that's not the case at all. Like, it's honestly, no offense, but games media, they're nothing but PR monkeys to these game studios. Like, I can understand for a AAA studio where for like an indie studio where they want to get some press coverage, but for people like Bethesda and EA, games media are there to just, hey, if you want to give us a good review, or if you want to give us some PR, go ahead. But we by no means owe you anything. And I think they're kind of forgetting that.
I don't think anybody is saying that they are owed anything. The biggest complaint I've seen on the internet is just that people are complaining that that's another avenue that is essentially gone for them. There is another option for consumers to go to.
Not really, man. It's not like they're saying they're not going to give review copies at all. They're just saying we're going to give them a little bit later than usual. And the community needs to take it upon themselves to be like, all right, if you guys are going to wait to give the review copies out, then we're going to wait to buy it. But no one wants to do that. They'd much rather kick and scream and, throw blame somewhere else than rather look at their own purchasing behaviors.
I get where you're coming from. I just completely disagree. I just disagree here.
I don't know, man. Like, I just...
No, it's just that justification that gets me. Like, we want you to experience this at the exact same time as everybody else on the planet. Like, that sticks with me, because that seems like the biggest bullshit I've seen coming from them, and I've played Fallout 3. It's fucking terrible.
I will say that line, I think that's a very PR contrived line, but I don't think it means what the way you're taking it to mean. I think for them it's
then
more.
Why are most people taking it that way?
Because people will take it, and it's self-justification, or confirmation bias. They'll take it to mean whatever they want it to mean.
I think that is too easy an answer.
I don't know, like the way, like for just based on the behavior and what Bethesda's been through in general with like the Doom release, I think when they say, "Oh, we just want everybody to enjoy it at the same time," I think they're taking a stab at those reviewers that before the game even came out, before they even had a chance to play it, they were basically spreading the fires of dissension between gamers, saying, "Oh, Bethesda's trying to hide something. This is anti-consumer." Because there was a couple articles that came out from big outlets that were basically just crucifying Bethesda, saying what Bethesda's doing is completely anti-consumer, and they were put very passive aggressive comments. I think PC Gamer even said it, like, "Hey guys, just a heads up, we won't have a review up because Bethesda refused to send us their copy." It was very I personally thought it was very unprofessional articles coming out, and I think Bethesda saw that, and you know what? Obviously, that's how you guys are going to act, and we're just going to wait for everybody to play it at the same time then. Because, I don't know, dude. Like, I think that games media, I don't know if this is intentional, but I don't think that they're responsible in the way that they handle their audiences. I think a lot of them like to just kind of stir flames of controversy for the sake of views.
Like, sure. There's definitely outlets out there that do that. But in the end, press as a whole serves to inform.
It should, yes. It should
consumers.
Serve
it doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen.
Especially in games media, man. With games media, I feel like the press is, like the few reputable personalities, like Rock Paper Shotgun, Giant Bomb, Total Biscuit, a few like specific authors and like content creators aside, the majority of games media, I think, serves as more like they're more entertainment first, information later. And I think for them, that entertainment first means get the views any way we can. And if it means calling Bethesda a bunch of liars and saying they're hiding something for not sending us a review early, then so be it.
Yeah, but that can't be anything but a small percentage of all the outlets that people actually read, like the bigger ones, medium to big ones. And as somebody who works for a website that does mainly news articles as they come, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's true that people just go there for entertainment first, because I see a lot of really good discussion in the comments as well. And our news pieces do the best out of everything, not just the reviews. Reviews do okay, but the news articles get the most views, get the most discussion.
Oh no, I'm not saying that the audience goes there for entertainment. I'm saying that the sites themselves tend to put that out as more of a form of entertainment than anything else.
Well, I can't speak for other publications, obviously, but I can say with all honesty that the one I work for does not do that. Like, informing people and throwing as much information into articles is actually policy, so...
Yeah, I mean, and I respect that. I mean, take what I say with a grain of salt, because I'm also a very old and jaded, I guess, game industry person now. So I probably have this whole baggage with me. But I don't know, dude, I'm very hard pressed to find articles that, when that whole Doom kind of fiasco happened, when they didn't send the reviews copies out early, I'm very hard pressed to find articles that were, urging the community to wait, at least in a sensible way. A lot of them were very, they took it like a personal attack,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
Instead of framing it in a way, I don't know, I'm very touchy with how, as a news site, especially if you're one of the bigger sites, because you have such a, connection to your audience, and you can influence them very, very easily. And they don't really pick their words carefully. They don't frame the conversation piece in either the most neutral way that possible. They frame it with a very specific goal in mind. Mm-hmm. Articles could have come out very specifically saying, "Hey guys, we're not going to receive your copy. Our review will be a little bit late. Sorry about that. I urge you guys to wait." But what I saw more of was articles saying, "Hey, they're not sending a review. What are they hiding?" They automatically implicated that Bethesda is doing something shady.
Yeah, but again, that they were wrong in Doom's instance doesn't mean they're wrong about this now.
Oh, no, I'm not.
These are two. They're connected, but still the different instances now, because we're talking about different games.
Oh, no, and I agree. I mean, I'm not saying that because they were wrong about Doom means they'll be wrong about any games in the future. I'm saying that they just acted like assholes with Doom, and that this is probably a result of it now.
Yeah, I think that anything that impedes the press from informing a consumer is a bad thing. Even sites that I'm personally like, I won't name them, but we all have a couple of game sets that we don't like.
But I mean, that's the thing though. They're not impeding them. I can understand if they're saying that we're not going to send review copies. Period. They're just saying we're not going to send the review copies out until later now.
Yeah, but you know what's going to be a natural consequence of this, right? Because it's competitive as fuck to run a gaming site, to write for a gaming site, and the one with the first review up gets the most views. That is definitely still going to happen now. And what happens when people have to compete, don't have ample time to take their time with the game, and test it on everything they can, because they've got a time limit now? They will try to finish it as soon as possible, might get sloppy, might overlook things, which in turn does not benefit anyone. So that is going to be a consequence of this.
And I hope as a result of that, I hope that those sites that do decide to rush their content to be the first out eventually see the backlash on that.
I don't think that responsibility lies solely with them. I think
I don't know, man.
Bethesda gets off easy here. I'm not saying that because I don't like their games. That's different, right? I don't enjoy playing their games, but I acknowledge that other people really, really like their games, which is all fine. They don't come across in this blog post as benevolent.
Oh, I'm not saying they're benevolent. I guess I'm looking at this less in regards to what Bethesda is doing and more in regards to the reaction the community is having, because when I look at this, I see it as a good opportunity for these review sites to grow and become better, because now that they don't have that option to essentially be lazy and rely on their first click. Because I look at reviews like Total Biscuit, man. He doesn't, or even Yahtzee from Escapist. They don't put their little reviews out until weeks, possibly months after a game releases. But they still have probably some of the highest viewership on those reviews because they put out thoughtful content.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But the largest part of the consumers, they don't really go for that, do they? I mean, they watch a Let's Play, see a cool trailer, and buy. If there are bad reviews of a game on day one because people, or well, you know, the journalist had enough time to play the game and had enough time to write the actual review, news travels fast, right? And if a bigger site gives it a bad review as a result of it being not a very great game at the start, word will spread, and usually will. Like I know some games that have come out recently that apparently did not do as well as people would have hoped, but and I know that it's a game I won't enjoy, not because I looked into it, but because I heard through the grapevine that it was getting bad reviews, and as a result of that, I am no longer interested in buying that game.
Yeah, I guess I'm having a hard time feeling like any kind of pity for them or even ire towards Bethesda, because I think we're moving towards a time when like reviewers themselves don't really have that much of a, like, their voice doesn't weigh as much anymore. It's all about, you know, streamers and content creators now.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. As long as there's one more voice that can be added to the bunch that has a well-informed opinion on something.
Yeah, but how reliable has that voice been lately, man? I mean, I don't want to split hairs, but Gamergate, you know, like one of the arguments with that was the whole ethics in gamer journalism. But I mean, you know, how many people make fun of IGN or GameSpot for, you know, Call of Duty, you know, could have been better, 10 out of 10. You know, like it's a very real concern with the community now that a lot of the AAA sites essentially, you know, are bribed for good reviews. You know, they only get the reviews from Bethesda or Infinity Ward or Treyarch because they're going to give them a good score. So the validity of those reviews have already been put into question as is. And even now, I mean, I think most of the community, they tend to look at user reviews and streamers rather than like actual site reviews. Even now, I mean, like Reddit's a great example, dude. Like the review mega threads, you know, nobody goes to one specific site. They take an aggregate of all the different sites, and then on the comment section, people discuss about themselves. Like, hey, what are you playing? Oh, I don't agree with the review. I'm playing it. I thought this and this. And I think the users themselves and the community has more voice and more weight in their voice than reviewers do.
And at the very least, a review inspires discussion in the community as well. So that is another upside of that. I'm not really disagreeing with everything that you say, but I think there is more malicious intent behind this than you were giving it credit for.
I don't think it's that malicious. I just think it's, from a business standpoint, it's Bethesda just kind of protecting their own assets. They don't really need video game reviewers. Because, like I said, they make their own publicity. They know people are going to buy their next Skyrim game, their next Fallout game, regardless. I think that they have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Because if people aren't putting reviews in the game, it doesn't matter. People are going to still buy them. But by avoiding that that Doom 3 backlash from people, or that Doom backlash from like the game reviewers that get upset and start spouting theories as facts that a game's going to be terrible because X, Y, and Z when they haven't even played it. I think they're just cutting the potential for that altogether. From their side, from the business perspective, I mean, that makes perfect sense for them.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point.
So, I mean, yeah, it might not be, like, I can understand from the community side, like, it might not be fair in our eyes, and for a lot of us, see, like, hey, well, that kind of sucks that we won't be able to see the review. But, again, I think that it'd be one thing if Bethesda just straight out said, we're not going to send review copies anymore, period. Then I could definitely see, like, the whole malicious intent behind that. But what we're having right now is that I think the community needs to take a step back and look at themselves. And you know what? Maybe we just need to stop pre-ordering and stop buying on day one and wait until these reviews. Okay, so the reviews are going to be the day before the game releases now or a little bit afterwards. Okay, then I, as a consumer, it is my responsibility to be smart about my purchase and wait.
Yeah, that's also true. I mean, there's a lot of different sides to this, isn't there?
There is. It's different facets. And like I said, I can understand. I'm very hesitant to jump down the rabbit hole either way.
Yeah, I get you. Maybe at the start of my conversation, I was a lot more sure of where I'm standing than I am now, because I can get some of the points that you made as well.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I'm looking at games like Hello Games and what do you call it? No Man's Sky. Yeah, but I mean, like a game like that up until release, like the games media were best friends and they were hyping it up and they were saying how beautiful the game was and it's great, it's going to be a 10 out of 10. And then the game releases and, I mean, even I think the initial reviews were actually really great from the sites themselves, weren't they?
Oh yeah, but I remember us talking about it as well in the first 2 weeks when I was playing daily for a couple of hours, right? Every day. I was having a fucking blast. But after a while, after like, I don't know, 30, 40 hours, I sort of realized that shit, I'm just mining shit so I can fly to a different planet, so I can mine more shit that allows me to fly to a different planet, and then I can mine even more shit so I can just fly to the next planet, right?
Right, and I mean, again, that's not something that I saw that in a few reviews that were mentioning it, but for the most part, a lot of the bigger reviews that got their access to the game earlier, they were harping on it, saying this is great, this is the next step.
Yeah, which is what I'm saying. I understand why they did that, because for the first 40 hours, I'm like, fuck yeah. This is awesome. But
so I don't know, man. It's like I said, it's a weird thing. I'm not. I think my main thing is that I don't think Bethesda is like that big evil corporation because of this. I just think that they're just trying to cover their bases now, and I think that as a game community, we need to probably start covering our own bases, and if that means hurting their sales figure in the first 24 to 40 hours for a game release, then I mean that's something we should kind of maybe all start doing as a community.
Well, that summarized it all perfectly well. So yeah, two differing opinions, but there's probably even more sides to the story that we are not thinking of right now. There's a lot to be said for both sides of the discussion. If some people think it's anti-consumer, there's a lot to be said for that, but the opposite is also true, apparently. So, like always, it's a topic that brings up more questions than it gives answers, isn't it?
Yeah, if you guys have any kind of comments or your own opinion, I mean, please feel free to send an email or throw it out there, because we'd love to have more discussion on this.
Yeah, selectcharacters@gmail.com, by the way, or you can just drop into our Discord channel or any social network you can think of, probably on there. Yeah, I think this brings us to the end of the episode. Actually, that was the only thing I was planning on talking about, and we've been going for nearly 45 minutes, so that's good.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah,
I'm about to get back to some reading.
Oh yes, definitely. My name was Chris Anderson for Select Characters. I was joined here this week by Enrique Cancel.
It was a pleasure.
Yes, definitely. We'll see you next week. See you next week. See you next week. See you next.